Hey, I am so excited today to sit down with Greg Hulver of Hulver and Associates. And Greg, why don't you just introduce yourself real fast so people know what we're talking about and why we're talking to you?
Hi, guys. I'm Greg Hulver. I'm a private investigator and process server here in the Kansas City, Missouri area, and have been doing this. This is the start of my 27th year, if you can believe that.
27 years. So you started, help me do the math. What year? 2000 or 1999?
I literally started January 1st of 2000
January
is when I
1st of 2000.
officially opened the door.
All right. And you're a licensed investigator and or process server.
Correct. Licensed private investigator in the state of Missouri, and then authorized private process server in many counties, and it varies in county how that works.
Okay, fantastic. So today's going to be fun because your perspective is now, my perspective is like the prehistoric age before internet, cell phones, like all that kind of fun stuff. So
Ring cameras.
ring cameras, oh my goodness, yes. I hadn't
Ring
even thought of that.
cameras are a process server's buzzkill. I mean, you can't sneak up on anybody's door anymore. Uh, you have to walk up the side of the house and kind of stick your arm out and knock on the door. Yeah.
That that's amazing. So I want to hear more about that too. And yet, I think people from around the country or even the world, I know we have some people in England following us, need to understand that Greg is you're only getting the audio, but Greg is wearing a Missouri jacket, and I'm a Kansas Jayhawk. So the fact that we're cooperating at all is unusual.
And the fact that I served you papers and were cooperating and you didn't get mad at me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so yeah, that's how we met, right? You were bringing some documents, a summons to me, or was it a subpoena? I don't even remember. And for another business that I own, and because of my experience as a process server, I'm like, well, just hey, I'll be here at this time.
Right. And those are the dream jobs where the person that you're serving, you can just call them and make arrangements to serve them. And until you just told me, I didn't even know what it was about. I just knew I served you some papers about something. So it's interesting because most of the times I don't ever read the papers. I'll kind of glance at them at the front page and you can kind of tell whether it's a motorcycle or a motor vehicle accident or a tenant eviction, a divorce, but I don't read them because it's none of my business. I really don't care. My job is to get them served and get out of there. But I
Understood.
do try to help. So, for example, let's say I served you uh, and you had never been served before, and let's say it was on a car wreck, and you're like, "What is this about?" I would then, as long as you're nice to me, I would stand there and explain to you, listen, I can't give you legal advice, but if I was your friend and we're standing in your front yard talking, just get these to your automobile insurance and let them take care of it. Do not leave an ounce of sleep over this. This is why you have insurance. And I usually hear, well, they weren't hurt. And I'm like, tell that to your insurance. Let them know. And so I do try to help people when they're nice. So like you were nice. And I even sat in your office for a little while and talked. And we talked about this.
Yeah,
So
we talked about this. And by the way, that was almost verbatim my conversation because people need to understand, and I think this is we're going to go heavy here for just a second. So just like put down your coffee if you're listening to this. But 98, 99% of the things that we served, they're just like routine, like car accidents, like life, and all the TV lawyers and people are really hurt sometimes and really, I mean, there's a whole variety of reasons. And there's some really fun stories and funny stories, but most of the time they're fairly routine. At least that was my experience. But um, these are real humans. These are real human beings. And if they don't know what to do, you got to be taking care of them. Now that we've said that, you don't know when the 1 or 2 or 3% is coming. Like it comes out of the darkness. And you mentioned that you knew a Kansas City process server who lost his life not all that long ago.
I believe it was two of them lost their life.
Was it
They
two? I'm
were
forgetting.
they were process servers for Jackson County, and they were serving an eviction in Independence, Missouri, not far from where I am right now. Um, and the first guy went in, and the individual, the subject that they were trying to serve the eviction to get him out, was lying in wait with some sort of a rifle, a long gun, and shot the process server, killed him. The other guy heard the shot. I believe he either walked in or was near the entrance, and he too was shot and killed. So, uh, absolute tragic, tragic. Um, and they had been to the gentleman's house before. So that one shook me up because I had two eviction notices on my desk to serve.
Hmm.
So my phone's blowing up that day, making sure it wasn't me or any of my people. And I actually took 3 days off after that. I was just mentally, I couldn't do it. To be honest, probably afraid. And changed some of my practices to the point to where now I wear a protective vest,
That's
which 20 years ago, I don't think was even on my radar. So probably maybe your experience has been the same. Maybe back when you were serving papers, wearing a concealed flak jacket, if you will, wasn't even on your radar to do.
no, it never was. And I've been in three shootings over the course of my life. Two of them when I was a process server, and one of them when I wasn't. And I never had a weapon. All I had was my mag light. And I just never, if I knew I was going to need a gun, I wasn't going to go. Like, it's like, but it just seems like everybody is so quick on them now. That's just a personal observation. That's those gentlemen probably had no reason to believe. And by the way, for anybody who's never been in a shooting, the last shooting was a perfect example. I was actually at my office at work, years removed from being an investigator. And I'm just talking to somebody in Portland, Oregon, and I heard four cracks. And with all the experiences I've had, I still had to stop and recognize what it was. And I think people think as soon as you hear a gunshot, you react. And it takes a second for your brain to go, oh, this is real. And I'll tell the rest of that story other time soon. But those guys probably never had a chance.
Certainly, the first gentleman had had no idea it was coming, no idea. So absolute tragic. Fortunately, I've not been involved in any situations where there's been a shooting. So knock on wood, I've been very, very fortunate. Uh, some of my closest calls have been with animals,
Yeah,
dogs.
yeah.
I don't know if you experienced this, but when you're serving papers, let's say they do get angry and they start taking it out on you. I've been able to talk to people and get them to calm down, or I just get the heck out of there. Dogs have no reasoning. And I do carry dog treats with me.
Yep, same here.
And people don't believe that. And they get in my car and I go look in my glove box and I have a little baggie with dog treats. And it has worked. But my closest calls of ever getting hurt, and I'll just leave it at hurt, were with dogs.
You know, that is so true. And I want to dig a little deeper on something you just brought up. The world I live in today is I help people with human behavior for them to have more success in the world they're in the real estate world. It's not hard to figure out who I am in the real estate world. So, but I help people modify their behavior to get what they really want. And that all started as an investigator. I didn't know I was good at it, but I learned when you say I can get them to calm down, how much about human behavior have you learned over your 27 years?
I can't even describe how much I've learned in human behavior. I mean, the stories, or I don't want to say the stories, I would say the encounters I've had has helped me in what I believe to help me be really good at my job. Because some of that being good is I haven't gotten hurt.
Yep.
Um, I've come close to getting in fights, but I've been able to talk the people down. And that is only because I've lived it before and I've taken that experience and just kept building and building about, you know, big thing is just you don't react. You know, it's not my fight, and try to get them to understand I'm just a guy like you. This just happens to be my job. I mean, I've had people tell me your job really must suck doing what you do. You know, serving bad news to people. I've had people tell me that.
Sure.
And most of the time, this is what's really odd is some of my worst experiences with people have been in the suburbs.
Amen. I wrote that the other day.
I, I mean, some of the worst people live in the nicest places you would ever imagine. And so that's one of those experiences that you would have never sold me on that when I first started. I would have said inner city, that's horrible. You're gonna have bad experiences.
I felt safer there.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I was in any neighborhood. I get out and I look for animals, signs of animals, big dog bowls, dog chains, fences. Yeah. So yeah, the dynamic is weird for
It
sure.
is. It is. And yeah, so we have a whole section of the site that's coming, and it's called The Tell, where I just basically describe human behavior and where we see it is in that line of work is how it goes. And I think people will find that interesting. Hey, let's pause here for a second and tell me a little bit about your company, and then you have an interesting story about how people really found out about your company, right? So
Right.
tell us a little bit about your name, how people can get a hold of you if they ever needed to hire a process server in the Kansas City area.
All right. So the name of my company is Hulver and Associates, and our mailing address is PO Box 2257 in Lee's Summit, Missouri 64063. You can reach me on my cell phone at 816-668-9672. Like I said, started in 2000, and kind of how I got started was I was doing private investigation work, and an attorney asked, "Do you do process service?" And I'm like, "Sure." I had only heard of what it was. I didn't know how to do it, when you did it, if you needed a license. I kind of went to bail bonds, bounty hunter, but
Right.
I knew that wasn't what it was. So that's truly how I got started and just started learning how to do it. So that's a little bit about my company. Uh, my email address is gholver@comcast.net. So those are the ways you can reach me. And if you ever need anything in Kansas City or even referrals outside of the area, I can help you out.
So tell me how your business, you said I had a particular service that put me on the map. People are going to enjoy this story.
So it was 2003. I get a call from an attorney that I'd never done work with before, but he had heard that I was decent at process service. And he said, "I have one for you. I'll be amazed if you can get it done." But it was a CEO of a major worldwide corporation.
Right here in Kansas City.
And he was going to be in Kansas City speaking at an event. Oh, it was over the lunch hour. Okay. Um, and it was a subpoena for his deposition. I had been told, and I had not been able to confirm this, that he had never been served before.
Game on.
He was that shielded and sheltered. Um, so I had to buy a ticket to the event, which was lunch, in order to get in. And so I get in, and no kidding, I walk in, and I'm thinking it's 400 or 500 people, maybe. I walk in, and it's probably 2,000 plus people at this event for lunch to hear this guy speak. And I'm like, I don't have a chance. How am I going to get to the stage? How am I going to even come in contact with this guy? You know, there's all these people. So I literally just hung out through the entire event. I had my lunch, and then I just stood against the wall. Um, he made his speech. He got done. He came down off of the stage. Now, keep in mind, he travels with an entourage of A, security, and also B, attorneys.
Well, he's worth
Okay.
money.
Yeah. So he's pretty well protected with this entourage that he travels with. But he happened to come, remember this, he came off of the stage and was down on the main floor. He's talking to the gentleman who had invited him to this event, and they're standing there talking. Okay. I work my way over to him, and he's standing there by himself, the two of them by themselves. My grandfather had worked for this company many, many, many years ago and had retired from this company. So he gets done talking to the gentleman who invited him. I just walked up to him and I said, "Hi, Mr. CEO. My name's Greg Hulver. I just wanted to come up and say hello, introduce myself. My grandfather worked for your company for 30 plus years, retired, you know, just talking, talking, talking." I reach around in my back pocket and I hand him the subpoena for his deposition. And the look on his face was, "I'm going to get you right now." His entourage was probably about 25 or 30 feet away in their little huddle, right? Because I don't think they expected him to stop and talk to the guest that invited him, and certainly not me. He immediately beelines over to his security and his group of attorneys, and you can see him reading. And at this time, I'm ducking into the crowd and watching to see what happens.
You're not sticking around for lunch.
No, I'm not going to stand there and go, "Hi, guys, it's me." And I'm assuming the conversation they're having is A, what is it? Because you can see them all looking at it. And then somebody must have said, "Where is he?" or "Who is it?" Because all of a sudden they were looking for me,
Yep.
just looking around the room. And I'm just huddled in the crowd, making my way kind of out through the doors, and made my way out. But yeah, they wanted to find me, because they wanted his deposition bad because they knew he had critical information to what come to find out. I was serving that subpoena on behalf of many, many attorneys who were after him and to get information. So fast forward then, their attorneys, the CEO's worldwide major corporation, their attorneys filed an appeal or an objection to that service. And as part of their brief, said that I horribly embarrassed the CEO of a worldwide major corporation by jumping onto the stage during the middle of his speech, grabbing his arm and serving him with this subpoena. Totally embarrassing in front of, however many people, 2,000, 3,000 people, which was totally false.
And easily provable false.
Well, the attorney who had hired me calls me and goes, "Greg, they just filed this brief and I need to read this to you because you didn't tell me any of this." And I go, "What's it say?" And he read it to me and I go, "That's bullshit." Excuse my language. I said, "There wasn't a soul in the room that knew I served him except he and I, and then his group of security and attorneys. It was as invisible as possible. Which, by the way, like when I serve anybody, especially in a business, I try to be discreet as possible.
Absolutely.
I don't walk into a doctor's office and go, "Hey, I've got a medical malpractice lawsuit for you,"
Amen.
because I can clear a waiting room really quick.
Yep.
So, so, any rate, back to my story. So the attorney had to file his, you know, objection to their objection to the service. So that was the job that kind of put me on the map, because once people found out about it, they were like, okay, if he can serve this guy, he can serve, Chris at a real estate office.
Yep.
So, and that was back in 2003. So do the math. What is that? 23 years ago? Wow.
23 years ago. Here's the fun of or it's not even the fun. Here are the points of that story that I think are real takeaways for me. We're in a human business. And the fact that you do it as discreetly as possible, I think I don't think I've seen a lot of flamboyant process servers. And if they are flamboyant, I think that's going to turn the attorneys off eventually. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, because you've seen some of the TV shows about process servers that run around and, you've been served.
Yep.
And I get people that go, "Oh, you're like that guy on TV." And I go, "No, I'm not." I said, the worst thing I could do is run around with a camera crew trying to serve people.
Yep.
And then when you throw a fit, I'm not going to chase you down the road. If you start running, I'm getting in my car and leaving.
It's still documented. You were still there.
Yeah. So, yeah, my whole purpose is to be as invisible as possible, and also truly help the person get through it. Hey, call your insurance, call your attorney. If it's a divorce, surely you knew this was coming, which I have served some people and they had no clue they were getting divorced, which I thought maybe that's why you're getting divorced, is you guys don't communicate.
Right. It's funny, but it's also heartbreaking at the same time.
100%.
You got to see the emotions that some people go through. Listen, I would love to hear one more quote unquote war story. Do you have anything locked and loaded that's kind of humorous, like shows the lighter side of process service?
Oh, 100%. I've got one. It always comes to mind. And again, this is probably 20 years ago. And again, it's about human character, right? So it was just a random house in the suburbs, knock on the door. And which, by the way, I tell all my process servers this: when you knock on a door, knock and stand to the side. Don't ever
Amen.
stand in front of the door.
Oh, amen. And first of all, you become less of a threat. And second of all, you're not a direct target.
And you're not a direct target. Do not wear sunglasses. Always be able to make eye contact.
That's right.
But at any rate, I knock on the door, ring the doorbell, whatever it was. And the guy comes to the door. He was morbidly obese. I initially thought he was butt naked. He had no shirt, no socks, no shoes, no sweat, nothing. And until he I thought he was naked until he turned to his side and I could see that he had white underwear on, because he was so big I couldn't see. And the funniness of that is he opened the door for a total stranger in his underwear. Like, come on in. I'm like, I'm sure the look on my face was, hello.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Um, it just blew my mind. And I walked away and I thought, what is that guy doing? And he was super nice and he was as casual. It didn't bother him one bit. He probably thought I was the one crazy with clothes on. So that's one that I thought was kind of funny. That was just kind of got human behavior, like people don't care.
Well, I think we all grow up thinking that however we grew up and however we live is normal. But when you visit house after house after house and catch people in their best and worst moments, you find out that normal doesn't exist.
I tell people all, it's funny you bring that up. I tell people, let's say it's my family, and I go, boy, those people are crazy. And, you're talking about some neighbor or something,
Right?
but they're sitting at their house saying, boy, the Hulvers, they're crazy,
That's right.
right? It's a matter, it's a matter of perspective, because to, to some people, I'm sure my world is crazy. So, again, it's that human behavior. And that's what makes it, I think, really fun is trying to talk people down when they're very angry. And like you said at the very beginning, most people are nice. You know, they take the papers and they move on. Most of the time, they know they're coming, right? Their insurance companies told them, their attorneys have told them. Um, so uh, it's just interesting over the years, taking all of those life experiences that makes doing this relatively safe, and you can make a decent living doing it.
Let's close on this because you said relatively safe. And I don't know how to describe this. I don't, over the years I've thought about this a lot about why the spidey senses. Do you ever have like spidey senses that you're like, thank gosh I thought that ahead of time, or like do you get the feelings? Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%. Um,
We learn to listen to them. Is that fair to say?
yeah, I don't know how to describe what you're talking about, but yes, it was a sixth sense, maybe. Um, you know, if I have a bad feeling about a job, I just don't take it. And it's okay. And matter of fact, I've never had a client chew me out for not taking the case.
They get it.
They get it because, hey, there's other companies that do what we do, and I'm okay with them taking the work because I really don't feel that I don't want to be competition to anybody. We're all doing the same thing. So, yeah,
Yeah, I
I
once
hope
had a
that
cop
kind of
ask
answered
me.
your question.
It does, because I once had a cop ask me after something went bad. She goes, "Why don't you have your weapon?" And I said, "Because if I knew I needed it, I wouldn't come. Like this is a $35 paper for me back in 1980. So, what do you think this is for me? Like this is just $35. I don't need a gun for $35."
Yeah, if I roll up on a house and there's five people sitting on the porch drinking and smoking and fighting and carrying on, I just drive on by. It's not a good day,
Yeah, come back
you
later.
know. Come back another time. And you are exactly right. You know, I'm not getting rich doing this, so I'm not going to put myself in jeopardy over like you said, a $35 job. Whew.
Yeah. It's crazy. So hey, we're going to end it here. Do I have permission to reach out to you in the future and see if you want to tell another story or two?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Or even talk about, getting into the business, or just kind of the landscape, if you will, of private investigation process service, how it's changed. Who does the kind of jobs? So here, I'd be great, be fun.
Yeah, if you're listening to this or following this Process Server Chronicles because you have interest in doing this kind of work and you live around the Kansas City area, especially, call Greg. He just gave you an invitation.
Yeah, I would love to talk to you because the more people who can get in this business, and if you want to work for me, it'd be great. It'd be fun.
Fantastic.